Take this, go to your compound, clean your face with it 3 times. Each time you clean it, mention Stephen's name.
Akunna walked slowly along the long, dusty road that cut through the village, her slippers dragging against the dry earth as she talked loudly to herself, her voice filled with anger, pride, and pain.
How can that man reject me? Me of all people! This is not the first time! Not the second time that Stephen is pretending not to see me. I will stand in front of him. He will look elsewhere. I will greet him. He will answer like he is greeting a stranger. Does he think I do not have blood in my body? Does he think my heart does not feel?
She stopped walking for a moment, breathing heavily, then continued again.
I have loved him since we were young. Since the time his voice was still breaking. I watched him learn how to climb palm trees. I watched him fall and stand up again. I waited and waited. Now he has married and thinks marriage will wash my feelings away. Stephen does not know me. If he likes, let him marry 10 wives. Let him marry 20 wives. It does not concern me. What is inside my chest is stronger than marriage.
The sun was high, burning her skin, but Akunna did not care. Sweat ran down her face, mixing with dust. Her eyes were red, not from tears, but from anger she refused to cry out. In the village, people knew Akunna very well. They knew her mouth was sharp. They knew she liked trouble. They knew she never liked to admit when she was wrong. Many people whispered that Stephen had rejected her many times, but Akunna never accepted it. To her, rejection was not final, it was a challenge. As she walked deeper into the lonely road, the sound of her footsteps was the only sound she heard. Then suddenly, the laughter came from behind her, slow and dry, like old leaves rubbing together. Akunna's body stiffened. She stopped walking. Her heart began to beat fast. She turned slowly. "Who is there?" she asked, trying to sound bold, though fear had started creeping into her chest. An old woman stood behind her. Akunna was sure that road had been empty before. The woman's back was bent, her wrapper faded, her hair grey and rough. Her eyes were sharp and heavy, as if they had seen too much.
Akunna, you talk a lot.
Who are you, and how do you know my name?
You don't need to know who I am, but I know what you are carrying in your heart.
My heart is my business.
Your heart is heavy, heavy with one man.
And what of it?
Take this, go to your compound, clean your face with it 3 times. Each time you clean it, mention Stephen's name.
Akunna stared at the handkerchief.
And then?
Then watch him come for you.
Even though he is married?
If he likes, let him marry 20 wives. His feet will still bring him to you.
Akunna hesitated, then stretched out her hand and collected the handkerchief. Before she could speak again, a sudden wind blew dust into her eyes. She closed them quickly. When she opened them again, the road was empty. The old woman was gone. Akunna stood there for a long time, staring at the handkerchief. Her heart beat loudly in her ears. Slowly, she turned and walked back toward her compound. That night, the village was quiet. Dogs slept, crickets sang softly. Akunna stood alone in her compound under the dark sky. No lamp, no voices, only silence. She lifted the handkerchief and cleaned her face the first time. "Stephen," she said. The second time, "Stephen." The third time, her voice was steady. "Stephen." A strange calm entered her body. She lay down and slept deeply. Before dawn, Stephen suddenly woke up with a loud shout. "Akunna, my love!" His heart was racing. His head felt hot. Without thinking, he jumped up and began to pack his clothes. His wife, Tevin, rushed out, frightened. "Stephen, why are you shouting Akunna's name? What is wrong with you?" Stephen turned sharply. "Leave me alone. Do not disturb me again. I am going to meet my Akunna." Tevin shook her head in disbelief. "Your Akunna? I am your wife." Stephen pushed past her and ran out. Tevin screamed and followed him, crying loudly. Neighbors began to wake up. Women came out. Men whispered. Stephen ran until he reached Akunna's compound. Akunna was already outside, sitting calmly. When she saw him, she stood up slowly and said, "Ha, my Moog is here." Tevin arrived crying. What is happening here? Akuna looked at Stephen and said quietly, Send her away. Stephen immediately chased his wife again. Tevin fell to the ground crying as people gathered, and fear entered the village.
Morning came early in Omomori village. The cock crowed, but Stephen did not wait for daylight. He woke up suddenly, as if someone had called his spirit. Akuna, he whispered and stood up at once. Akuna was already awake. She sat on a low wooden stool in her compound, watching him quietly, like someone watching a child she owned. Come, she said calmly. Sweep the compound. Stephen did not argue. He picked the broom and began to sweep. Dust rose into the air. His back bent low as he worked. His face showed no shame, no question. Villagers passing by slowed their steps. Is that Stephen? One woman whispered. The palm wine tapper? Another asked. Why is he sweeping in Akuna's compound like that? Akuna sat and watched him. After sweeping, cook, she said. Stephen nodded and went straight to the firewood. He lit the fire, washed the pot, and cooked food. Akuna ate first. Stephen waited like a shadow. Go to the stream, she said again. Fetch water. Stephen carried the pot on his head and walked to the stream. People stared. Some laughed. Some shook their heads. Is this not the man that chased his wife yesterday? Something is wrong, an old man murmured. Stephen fetched water and returned. Sweat covered his body, but he smiled. My Akuna, he said softly. Akuna nodded. Sit, he sat. All through that day, Akuna commanded Stephen, wash plates, go and buy salt, stand there, come here. Stephen obeyed without thinking. When his wife, Tebin, heard what was happening, her heart broke. She tied her wrapper tightly and rushed to Akuna's compound. She found Stephen sweeping again. Stephen, she shouted, what madness is this? Stephen stopped suddenly. For the first time, his eyes looked confused. Akuna, he murmured, holding his head. Akuna noticed immediately. She stood up fast. Before Stephen could say another word, Tebin rushed forward and slapped him hard across the face. Wake up, she screamed. Wake up from this madness. The slap echoed. Stephen staggered back. His eyes cleared for a moment. What am I doing here? He asked weakly. My wife? Tebin cried out. Yes, I am your wife. Come home. Akuna did not panic. She reached into her cloth calmly and brought out the handkerchief. She stepped close to Stephen. Look at me, she said firmly. Stephen looked at her. She cleaned his face once. Stephen. His eyes changed. She cleaned his face again. Stephen. His face hardened. The third time, she cleaned his face slowly. Stephen. Immediately, his face twisted with anger. He turned sharply to Tebin. Get out, he shouted. Get out of here before I beat you. Tebin screamed. Stephen, it's me. He chased her, shouting, Leave me alone. I don't know you. Tebin ran, crying loudly, falling and standing again as villagers gathered. Akuna stood in her compound, watching quietly. From that day, Stephen became Akuna's shadow. Every morning, he woke early. He swept, he cooked, he fetched water from the stream, he washed clothes. If Tebin came, he chased her away. If elders came, he shouted at them. Akuna began to command him openly. Kneel, stand, follow me. Stephen obeyed. People began to fear Akuna. Women warned their daughters. Men avoided her compound. At night, Akuna sometimes watched Stephen carefully. When his eyes looked like he was thinking too much, she quickly cleaned his face with the handkerchief again. Each time, he returned to her control. But the village was not sleeping. Whispers grew louder. This cannot continue. That woman has tied the man. There will be consequences. And Tebin? Tebin did not stop crying. She went from house to house begging, Help me, my husband is lost. And somewhere in the village, unseen eyes were watching. The handkerchief was not done collecting its price. Umorie village did not rest. Even at night, people whispered. Dogs barked for no reason. Owls cried close to human houses. Sleep became light, like something waiting to break. Stephen stayed in AKUNNA'S compound. He no longer asked questions. When AKUNNA slept, he sat on the ground beside her door like a guard. If she woke and called his name, he answered quickly, "Yes, my AKUNNA." Sometimes he would smile for no reason. Sometimes he would stare at his hands as if they did not belong to him. And sometimes, just sometimes, his eyes would shake. Those moments scared AKUNNA. One evening, as the sun was going down, Stephen suddenly dropped the pot he was washing. It broke. He held his head. My wife," he whispered. "Tevin." AKUNNA rushed out immediately. Her face became hard. She pulled out the handkerchief. She cleaned his face once. "Stephen." His breathing slowed. She cleaned his face twice. "Stephen." His shoulders dropped. The third time, she pressed the handkerchief hard against his forehead. "Stephen." He fell to his knees. "I am here," he said quietly. "I belong here." AKUNNA smiled. But deep inside, she felt something moving. Something was pushing back. Tevin did not give up. Her eyes were red from crying. Her feet were swollen from walking. She went to the house of the oldest man in Umori, Eze Ogwefi. He listened quietly as she spoke. "My husband is alive," Tevin cried, kneeling. "But he is not himself. AKUNNA has taken him." The old man closed his eyes. "This thing you are saying," he said slowly, "has entered the dangerous road." Other elders were called. They sat in a circle that night. "A woman cannot hold a man like a goat," one elder said, "unless something dark is helping her." Another elder nodded. "That handkerchief, it is not ordinary." They agreed on one thing. They must watch AKUNNA closely. That same night, AKUNNA went into her small room alone. She locked the door. She brought out the handkerchief and spread it on the floor. "Why are you shaking?" she whispered angrily. "Have I not fed you well?" The wind moved inside the room, though the windows were closed. A cold voice answered her, low and heavy. "The time is close." AKUNNA frowned. "I did not ask for that," she said. "I want more control." The voice laughed softly. "Every power collects payment." AKUNNA held the handkerchief tightly. "I have paid already." The room went silent. Then the voice spoke again, slower. "The payment is not complete." AKUNNA'S hands trembled for the first time. The next day, Stephen followed AKUNNA to the market. People moved away from them. Women pulled their children close. Men avoided Stephen's eyes. AKUNNA felt proud. But suddenly, Stephen stopped walking. He looked straight at Tevin, who stood far away watching. Their eyes met. For a long moment, the market became quiet. "Tevin," Stephen said softly. AKUNNA turned sharply. Her heart jumped. Before Stephen could move, she wiped his face quickly with the handkerchief. His face changed. "Who is that?" he asked angrily. "Why is she looking at me?" Tevin fell to the ground and cried loudly. The elders watching exchanged looks. This thing had gone too far. That night, Eze Ogwefi spoke firmly. "Tomorrow," he said, "we confront AKUNNA." Some nodded, some were afraid, but everyone knew the truth. If they waited longer, Stephen might never return, and the handkerchief was already hungry. Morning broke with heavy silence in Umore village. No birds sang. The elders walked together, their staffs touching the ground as they moved. Men followed behind them. Women stood far away, watching with fear. They stopped at AKUNNA'S compound. "AKUNNA," Eziogbuefi called. "Come out." Stephen stood in front of the compound like a wall. "You cannot enter," he shouted. "This is my place." The elders looked at him with pity. "My son," the old man said gently, "you are not standing by your own will." AKUNNA came out slowly. Her face was calm, but her eyes were tired. "What do you want?" she asked. "You have tied what does not belong to you," Eziogbuefi said. "Release Stephen." AKUNNA laughed. "Who will force me?" The air suddenly became cold. The handkerchief inside her cloth began to move by itself. Stephen screamed and held his chest. Tevin ran forward. "Stephen!" she cried.
For the first time in many days, Stephen looked at her fully. Tears filled his eyes. "My wife," he whispered. Akuna screamed. "No!" She pulled out the handkerchief and waved it. The wind rose sharply. Dust covered the ground. People fell back in fear. Then a deep voice spoke, louder than before. "Enough!" The ground shook. Akuna fell to her knees. "I did everything you asked," she shouted. "I fed you. I obeyed you." The voice answered calmly. "You used power to break a home. Now you will pay." The handkerchief burned black in her hands. Akuna screamed as it turned to ash. Stephen collapsed. Tevin rushed to him and held his head. Slowly, Stephen opened his eyes. He looked around. What happened?" he asked weakly. Tevin cried and hugged him tightly. The wind stopped. Silence returned. Akuna sat on the ground, weak and empty. Her eyes looked far away. The elder spoke. "From today," Eziogbuefi said, "you will live alone. No one will follow you. No power will answer you." Akuna did not reply. Her power was gone. Days passed. Stephen returned home. He apologized to his wife and to the village elders. He worked hard to rebuild his life. Tevin stayed by him. The village slowly found peace again. Akuna remained alone. People passed her compound, but no one stopped. She had everything once. Now she had nothing. Moral lesson: power taken through evil will never last. Anyone who uses wicked means to control others will pay a heavy price. Love cannot be forced, and what is not yours will always return to its true owner. The end.